Welcome back to Mommy Meltdown on Giant TV. I'm your host, Stephanie Mizzy, and as you know, many of the subjects that I cover on Mommy Meltdown are because I'm having my own Mommy Meltdown, with whatever the case may be. A lot of times, it's my kids. Continues to be my kids. It's interesting because I have never thought of my kids having special abilities until this lovely lady actually brought it to my attention. And so today I thought we would talk a little bit about spirited kids and how and why they might be spirited. And welcome to the show, a gal who you have probably caught her show on Giant TV, The Gifted Onez. It's Liz Throp joining me today.
Hello.
Hello, lovely. How are you?
I am awesome. And you?
I am so glad that you could be on the show with me
I am
today.
excited to be here because I've been watching your show and I'm like, this would be a great subject.
It is.
To bring to the table, right?
And it's not until you brought it to me and I thought, yeah, why didn't I have you on earlier? Because we've talked about this.
Yeah.
We've been friends now for a number of years.
Yeah.
You know, you've done a reading with me in the past. You've been to my home smudging the heck out of it, which is beneficial, by the way.
I know.
And we've talked about my kids. You know, I've been very open, both with friends, family, public, about the struggles my kids have.
Yeah.
And we have run the gamut of testing, diagnosis, medications. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. We're kind of in a, phase right now with them.
Right.
And you were actually the first one to bring to me and then said, your children are quite empathetic. And I actually had no idea even what you meant by that. So let's start at the beginning with that. And let's talk about that. How sometimes these behaviors that we're seeing in our children
Yes.
aren't really normal behaviors for the regular everyday kid, and really may not even be related to some of the diagnoses that kids are being labeled with today.
Exactly. And that's actually the more and more research that I've done on it, I'm starting to see a real strong pattern with children labeled with attention deficit or highly sensitive nature, attachment, detachment challenges,
Yes.
anxieties, autism. I have seen so many children come through my door over the years where their parents are like, I think my kid might be gifted. Can you just have a chat, or can you just tell me if they are? And I've had them sit down with me.
Yeah.
And not knowing their labels,
Okay,
right? Because
yeah.
we do tend to do that now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every single one of them is highly sensitive, highly in tune, highly gifted, and empathic is probably the strongest one for most of these children. Their empathic nature creates such anxieties for such a small person
Yeah.
that they will act out when the energy is not cool in the room or
Right.
in the space, right?
And it's interesting, you actually described to me one time, you had mentioned, do you find that people gravitate towards you? Good, bad, ugly, whatever the case may be, no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
And really that's what you mean by
Yeah.
an empathic person.
They're magnets. They're energy magnets. So think of it like this. Everywhere they go, any human or animal, anything living that is experiencing any positive or negative energy,
Yeah.
your child is picking up on that.
Wow.
So it's not just their own stuff that they got to deal with, because we all have to deal with our own personal egos and highs and lows that we have on a day-to-day
Right.
basis. But if you're empathic and all of a sudden you're picking up on everybody around you, so just go first day of school.
Yeah.
And think of the drama everyone's experiencing. Every
Yes.
child in that school is pent up and, oh, what's it going to be like? Is my
Right.
favorite teacher going to be there? Is my friend's going to be there? Or my friend's not going to be there this year and I'm going to be on my own? They're all experiencing these things. And then if you have trauma at home,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
That's included. So these poor kids are not even aware of what's going on and it's happening to them.
It's a bit of a hot mess, isn't it?
Yeah, literally.
Or can be a bit of a hot
Yeah.
mess, for sure.
Yeah.
So where do we start with this? If we suspect that our kids are exhibiting behaviors that could be related to something other than medical conditions,
Right.
how do we identify that compared to, say, a medical condition?
Right. So I always default to listen to your doctors first, okay? But be investigative with your own intuition. So if you're feeling that something's not right, do the research and find out. So I can tell you on the website that I have, the company that I created is called Psychic Kids United.
Right.
And I created that because I was getting a lot of kids and parents not knowing how to deal with this.
Okay.
So my friend and I launched it, Margaret Sample. The two of us kind of just did research with other psychics and mediums and healers and empaths in the world and asked them, like, how was it growing up for you? And we all experienced the exact same, every single one of us experienced the exact same challenges. So we wanted to take that equation out of every child's life going forward, right? And give them the power, because once you embrace your empathy and you embrace your psychic gifts and your medium gifts and your healer gifts, it's so empowering. So imagine if we can teach them young, and if we can teach mom and dad how to embrace their strength. Because I just did an interview with a gal, Tara Regis,
I
Regis.
was going to mention that. I was so struck by her story because she's telling it, and I'm like, that's me. That's me.
Yes, exactly. So the number one thing she said during the interview with her was that she had to clean up herself first.
Right.
That was the number one thing. Now, take aside everything that we're talking about. If you've got stuff going on in your life, it's hard to focus on anybody else.
Yeah.
So add to that element that child is extremely sensitive in nature, or connected to drama, or they're hyper or whatever. Ask yourself, what's going on? Is there organization in the home? Is there, and it's not to point fingers at anybody.
No.
It's to clean up our own selves, right?
Yeah.
To get ourselves grounded and feeling better. But these kids are truly affected by just highs and lows in energy. They just are.
It's very true. And I've said this before, even about my own children, that I have to play a bit of detective.
Yes.
All the time, right? What caused this behavior?
Yes.
And sometimes it's easy, right? You can go back and say, this is what happened at school. This is what happened at home.
Yes.
But I feel like, to look at them and think, well, maybe there are some psychic abilities there, or they're very...
your kids do have that.
That, you feel?
Yes.
It's funny because is this hereditary? I guess that's a question I should ask first.
I would like to say yes.
Yeah.
There's no I don't know if anyone's ever done a study.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. When you ask most psychic mediums, working in the industry, right? The folks like myself who actually do this for a living,
right.
They will tell you that it does go back generationally.
Okay.
I didn't see it as in, like, I didn't have a grandmother that went and did readings and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
But when we look back at her on both sides, both of my grandparents, mostly my grandmothers, had a very strong, like, community coming to, like, my grandmother was the house where everybody came for tea and got advice, right?
Yes.
And you can go back and look at stuff like that. So they may not be physically working in the industry, but they were doing it, or they're predictive. They had really great predictions, that kind of stuff.
And that's what I kind of feel like.
Yeah.
My grandmother always had great predictions.
Yeah.
Kind of eerie predictions.
Yeah.
And I don't know if my mom was ever like that, but then definitely as I started to get older, and I would say, I'd always call it deja vu. Because I still say this.
Yes.
I swear to God, that's deja vu. But it kind of makes you go, like, I've already been in this position before. Why is it that I've already been here? I've done this exactly.
You want to know what that is? That's the universe's way of telling you that you're right exactly where you need to be. Oh. That's what that is.
Okay,
so you're connecting with either... it can be on multiple things, but it's usually you're connecting with a previous lifetime moment, or you're connecting with a future lifetime moment, that this is just telling you you're on your right path.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, there's lots of theories behind it, but that's the one I like.
My kids have started to do that lately.
Okay.
Just in the last year.
Yes.
My youngest more so than my oldest. I swear my oldest doesn't remember dreaming.
Some of us don't, right? Some do, some don't. Yeah.
But my youngest, he's the one who usually says to me, "I think I was here already, Mom."
Yep.
Really? Interesting. Tell me some more about that.
Yes.
So it's those little things, I guess, that we should be looking for.
100%.
Kids will definitely.
The kids coming in today, just so that everybody's aware, they're quite different from my generation of kids.
Right.
Your children have telepathic abilities, so like they'll read minds. Yeah. You probably notice that you'll be thinking something, and your son will come up and say, hey, I think we should do this, Mom. Pay attention to that, because they are totally reading our minds. They're known as crystal children.
Frightening.
It is frightening. And I only really got involved in this with my grandson and my granddaughter, because my granddaughter was really good at it. My grandson is off the charts with it.
Really?
And so we play games together. Like I'll play the guess what song Emma's singing game in my head, and I'll sing a song in my head. It has to be a song that he connects with,
sure.
and he'll start to hum it and he'll connect to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really fun. Actually, everybody should try that.
I
just
feel like
to
you
see.
need to tape that. That's insane.
I know, right? I
That's
know.
hilarious.
He'll only play it every once in a while. And I said to my daughter, one time we're gonna have to play that. You're gonna have to record that, and if I do, I'll play it on your Facebook page. And the other game that we play with the kids is so just general playing cards. But I bought, like the little fun cards that have like pictures. So like you're teaching your child new words.
Right.
Purse, purple purse, red hat, those kind of flashcards.
Yeah.
And so I'll take those and I'll mix them up on the table, and I'll pull one out and I'll look at it and I'll say, what does Emma have in her hand? And I'll think of it in my mind. And my granddaughter is amazing with this. She'll get the color 99.9% of the time, the color always. And then she'll describe if she doesn't, but she's played with the cards. Now she's getting better at describing what they are. But it is amazing to me how in tune they are, because I can't do that.
I don't think I could.
I can't do that, right? So
I
they're
wouldn't be able to guess what the object was.
right, so they like play this with your kids, and this is actually a really great game to play to sort of strengthen that psychic muscle that we all have. Every single person on the planet, is my belief, that every single one of us has this gift.
Okay.
It's just some of us are really tuned in when we're born, and some of us aren't, and we need to tune in. But all of us have those moments of, I knew that was going to happen moments, right?
Yes, true.
So what I suggest with your kids, especially for you and your viewers, is to get a journal and to start jotting down the little memories. Like that was one of the tips that Tara had said in her interview. She kept a journal of all the little, that was a crazy moment. That was an interesting, like that was what's the word I'm looking for? A coincidence moment.
Right.
How did they know that? So she started to do that, because your day to day as a mom, you're going through the process, right?
Through the motions.
Now I got to make dinner. Now I got to do dishes, right? And yes,
true.
honey, honey, and so if you're not remembering those moments, which you typically aren't, and you can look back in a journal on a weekly basis and go, wow, look at the amount of things that my child is saying and doing.
Right.
There's something here.
So if you do that, I start tracking things that Matthew is saying.
Yes.
What's the next step after that?
Okay. So I would also recommend that you take the quiz on Psychic Kids United, because the quiz is awesome for helping you to understand where your strengths are. So we broke it down into 4 segments: psychic, medium, healer, and empath.
Okay.
And so once we know what we're dealing with, especially for, with your kids, and especially empaths, then you have to be a little bit more sensitive to their needs, time, wants, that kind of stuff. It's not that they're trying to be difficult, because I think a lot of parents have that, like, are you just trying to be mean or difficult, right? No kid.
The words right out of my mouth. In fact, I think I used those words this morning.
Yeah, my daughter says the same thing. I think he's just trying to be a brat to me, and I'm like, he has no concept of that.
Right.
It is, they just can't handle the outside energy.
Yes.
So if we just take our time and we just have to breathe through it, I know it's hard, it's challenging.
It's tough.
But the more psyched up we are, the more they get psyched up. Yeah. So it's just check yourself in and go, okay, breathe, take a moment here. It's not about me. This child is not trying to ruin my day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so true. I think that's just good advice in general.
In general. Right? You're right.
I think that's good advice in general.
Yeah.
But then, like you say, if you have a child who is just more in tune with emotions and everyone's emotions, not just their own.
Yeah.
That is, imperative.
So
advice.
then once we know where they fall, so if we have an empathic child, for example, then we have to learn to peel back the layers of our own sensitivities, know to slow down, not be forcing them to do things. Like, no matter how much you force, you're never going to make an empathic child do what you want them to do. Like it's like fitness.
Clearly been watching my home lately.
Right? A square peg into a round hole. Like it's not going to happen.
true.
So acceptance that they are different, and it's a blessing. It's not a negative thing. I know it feels like a negative thing
Absolutely.
when they're
Right.
losing it
There's
and
a reason why they're
tearing
all
their
gray.
house apart. Yeah. But it's when we can get a handle on ourselves, that's the bonus of it, because we're forced to see ourselves.
Yeah.
And then when we get a handle on that and we can make life a little bit more accustomed to their way of needing
Right.
life to be, which is on their terms.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hard for us as
hard.
parents, right?
Yeah.
Especially controlling.
Yeah.
I was a very controlling
totally
parent.
a controlling
Yeah,
parent, yeah.
Because we have to be. Let's
Yeah.
face it,
You gotta
right?
get everybody in order. Right?
Yeah,
You gotta be
exactly.
places on time.
We have to
Yeah.
think for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like taking it back a couple of steps and going, it's okay. If you have a psychic child who's having, off the chart predictions and scary stuff, right? That can be scary for a parent. Like, how do I deal with that? There's no school or place that you can take. If they're into football or music, you can take them to
Right.
a class for that.
I know. Dude,
There's
go to a
nothing for that.
doctor, I feel like
Right.
a doctor would think you were crazy.
Right. So, seek out an incredibly gifted soul in your area
Yeah.
who has worked with children that's like a psychic medium,
Yeah.
and they can probably support you. But definitely keep a journal and don't ever. Never. The worst thing you can do is go, oh my gosh, that's so scary, or that's crazy, or,
Yes.
look at this crazy kid of mine. It's like, ugh. Don't ever label your kid with anything like that, because
Yes.
it does make us go, I don't want to be different.
Yeah.
I want to be included.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, highlighted. So we have to be very careful and sensitive there. If it's a medium child who's seeing dead people,
Well, I was just going to get to that question. Yeah.
okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, I'm glad that you did that, because I was thinking to myself, what if it goes beyond just
Yeah.
being intuitive to other people, and now, maybe you live in a house that's a little bit haunted, or
It's usually not
you've
the
got
house.
No, it's not the house. It's,
No.
There's something else that's going on.
It's the kid. So I always liken.
Kid is haunted.
No. No. I'm sure some parents would think that, but no. No, it's literally, think of it like a street lamp in the middle of the night. What do you see honing in on that street lamp? Hundreds of bugs, right?
Yeah.
Your child is that street lamp. They are the shiny soul.
Okay.
And so spirit energy from everywhere is honing in on the shiny light. That's all it is.
Okay.
So they are also really connected to our loved ones on the other side. Like, so our family members, the grandparents, like
Right.
any aunts and uncles and all that are on the other side, they're going to be having conversations with those. And we very commonly will have imaginary friends. They call it imaginary friends, right?
Yes.
So, and I can tell you 100% of the time, it's not an imaginary friend. It's just not.
Totally somebody's there, yeah.
Somebody's there.
Yeah.
So they deal with night terrors, which is, most kids, have terrors, like they'll have night terrors, but this is like off the charts. I'm not sleeping in this room.
Yes.
You can't make me. And they won't sleep, and they'll be miserable the next day. They will be overwhelmed and full of anxiety. Who's gonna, like, they get very frustrated when we don't see who they're talking to. It's like, I'm not making this up, and you're making me feel, bad because you're telling me that I'm lying now, and must be something wrong with me.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just acceptance of what you can't see,
Okay.
and ask questions. Ask your child questions.
I think that's the big thing, isn't it?
Don't be
I think
afraid of
makes
it.
them feel better, even if you
Yes.
don't necessarily believe.
Yes.
As they say.
Yeah.
Just ask them questions.
Yeah.
And make the child feel that much better.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
if they're a healer, give them animals. They will already have animals finding them. Like animals, empaths and healers, animals like find sick and dying animals find these children.
Yeah.
Like they are like stray pets show up at the house all the time. But they will be hands-on kids. So they'll be very touchy-feely children. They will want to be connected to you all the time.
Yeah.
Like empaths, healers are very needy, huggy children.
Yeah.
Give them as much as you can. Just give them as much attention and affection as you can. They're not needy. They are, we call it needy, but they're not needy. That's just how they operate.
The world, it seems to me, is
Desperately
going
in
to need
need.
more and more of
Yes.
as they get older.
Yes. They're all coming in at the perfect time.
They really are.
They really are.
I love this. Liz
Yeah.
Throp has been joining us today on Mommy Meltdown. And as you were mentioning, Psychic Kids United is the name of your Facebook page?
Yes. Facebook page, and there's a website as well.
Okay, excellent. Can you give us the website? It's just Psychic Kids
It's
United?
psychickkidsunited.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. And people can find the link to that right below in the description here on Giant TV. Liz, thank you so much.
Oh, thank
for coming
you.
in today.
Thank you for having me.
Always so much fun to chat with
Yeah.
you, and it's always good insight for me to see how my kids are getting along.
It's been so much fun to be on this side of the mic.
I can't
Love
wait
it.
for my turn the next
I
time.
know. You're going to be on my show.
Yeah, make sure you're checking that out as well. Liz Throp joining us today on Giant TV. Thank you for joining us today on Giant TV and Mommy Meltdown. Remember, you can freak out, you just can't stress out because you had a Mommy Meltdown. Until next time.